Okay, today we got a fun one. We're going to talk about one of my favourite topics, which is heroes and villains. Good old villainy, yeah. So off the bat, I just want to qualify this first of all. We're talking about villains in the context of movie world and cartoons and comic books, yeah. We're not talking about psychopaths, cult leaders and mass murderers, no. So when I refer to villains, we're not talking about those kind of people, yeah. Alright, let me split my gun up. Okay. First of all, there's a quote. I want to start with a quote from, I think it's Batman, where he's like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. The basis of this video is why I identify more with the villains in movies now that I'm older than the heroes. As a child, I definitely identified more with hero worship, or the valor and virtues of being a hero. You know, you slay the dragon, you get the goal, you get the happy ending. Lovely stories. But the older you get, the more you realise the reality of these stories, or the morality of these stories. So I'll start like this. Yeah. There's the villain in a public perception of a villain, and then there's a villain in his actions, right? Most villains, when you really examine who they are, yeah, they are a closer portrayal of a human being, or the context of being, or the context of true humanity, what it really means to be a human, right? Because they're battling with their place in life. The things that have happened to them, the things they've been through, are what frame their mind and how they move through the world, right? What you got to understand is, in most scenarios, yeah, villains are people who have examined the way the world is and decided to make a change, to either challenge the status quo or to change things that benefit them and people like them in their situation. Most heroes' jobs are to maintain status quo and not ruffle the feathers of change. In most scenarios, right? Like I said, we're not talking about in the real world where it would be a good idea to stop a mass murderer. You know what I mean? We're not talking about it in that context. We're talking about it in the context of, an example for some of you would be Darth Vader. Darth Vader's redemption arc is so essential to the whole story of Star Wars, even though I don't know the in and outs of Star Wars, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but on the surface level, yeah, without Anakin, there's no Luke, right? So without bad, there's no good. And at the same time, without good, there's no bad, right? So check it out, yeah. Anakin is some kid on a planet where most of his population are slaves. He's a slave and his mother's a slave, right? So he starts out at literally the bottom of life, right? The bottom of existence, yeah? Now, he doesn't identify with his situation. He believes in the good at this point. But there's so much prophecy surrounding who he's supposed to be or what he can be, that everybody has pushed their agenda onto his life from such a small age that he gets to a point where there's a fork in the road and all he can logically do is rebel because of the pressure of what everybody wants him to do and what he actually wants to do and be, yeah? It's like, there's a good quote from the film where, I think it's Princess Leia, and she goes to him, oh, you're a slave? And he goes, my name's Anakin, and I'm a person, yeah? Understand that, it's very potent, very powerful. He is a person, first and foremost, from the beginning of his redemption arc to the end of his redemption arc, where he loses a bit of his humanity only to return more himself at the beginning, right? Another example of that kind of way would be Vegeta, right? Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Total badass, yeah? But think about Vegeta's upbringing. He is royalty, right? But he grew up watching his planet of strong people be minimized and subjectified by some weird alien that has nothing more on his mind than power and destruction. He watched his dad, which is the king, basically be humiliated and kneel to this guy. And not only did that happen, he had to go and live with the same guy that is destroying all these planets and manipulating his people. So he, of course, he becomes like them, because that's what he sees, that's what he's raised by, yeah? But when he arrives at Earth, at the point where he's going to find Goku, yeah, he is on some I'm taking back what is rightfully mine shit. He's on some I'm restoring the Saiyan race to its rightful place, yeah. That's what he's essentially on. And of course he's an arrogant little shit. And he gets humbled by Goku, of course, yeah. But the premise of what he is more human than the idea of what the hero is. Do you understand? Because the hero is just an idealized, if that's the right way to say it, version of what a man could be, yeah, and which is really good. There's a lot of good virtues to extract from a hero perspective, right? And it's something I still aspire to. A lot of hero virtues is something I aspire to, even to this day, yeah. But before I lose my train of thought, yeah, the hero is more of a plot device than the villain. The villain is usually the catalyst of what the story is, and what can happen, and what can become, right? The reason I would say it like this, why I identify more with the villains now, is I can see their humanity, I can see the potential for good in them. And that's mostly the point of having a villain in the first place, is to show the juxtaposition of bad and good, right? Now, I'll give you a perspective like this from Naruto, right? The villain in public perception. The prime example I have for this is Itachi Uchiha, Sasuke's older brother. Sasuke grows up believing his older brother is some mad monster, bruv. He just killed his whole village, murdered his whole family, and is just moving mad reckless in the world, trying to bring destruction. But what he doesn't actually know, which Itachi keeps from him because it's a promise he made, Itachi is a member of Anbu Black Ops, which is like a secret police division of his village. What he done was to protect the whole village by wiping out his own people. That's a major sacrifice. And the reason he did it is to save his little brother's life. Otherwise, they all would have been killed. So he went through this path of villainy in sacrifice, which is truthfully the most heroic thing you can do. But not heroic in the sense of slave morality. I'm not talking about heroic from that point of view. That's foolishness. Don't sacrifice yourself for the quote-unquote greater good. Never ever do that. Your existence is the greater good for you and for all of us. The world is a better place with you here, right? That's not what I'm talking about. The sacrifice he made, the actual honor and loyalty to his bloodline and his village, made him appear to the whole world that he is a villain. But really, he had to go undercover deeper and deeper into the dark side of the world so he could eventually save the world. Do you understand? A lot of villains, their arc is the same, but something or someone comes along and stops them before they get to the other side of changing things. Now, whatever happens from the change is the good or bad, be it good or bad, you don't get to see that come about. What you see in the way movies have set it up for you is the hero comes along with acceptability politics to the current popular stereotypes, what they currently want society to portray, right? So this might be like, I don't want to get too political with it, but this might be some kind of divergent gender equality kind of hero that identifies with something like that, yeah? Nothing against them kind of people, but that's just an example of what the current agenda might be, right? The hero comes along, and because he's so well placed in the identity politics of the universe which he exists, instead of him actually saving the world, he only helps to prevent its progression and further destroy the same world he's trying to save, because he only upholds the status quo. Take Superman, for example. Superman is an alien, bro. He's not a human, right? But instead of Superman coming to Earth and elevating the perspective of Earth, elevating the people of Earth, he comes there and basically maintains the status quo. He becomes just a tool for the president of his country. Now think about that. He's just a soldier of the president. He's a good old boy. Do you know what I'm saying? He's a Boy Scout, right? How does that benefit the world with his existence? Because really and truly, the threat of his potential power, yeah, is what gives birth to villainy in the first place. Do you understand? Why a Batman has to exist is the same reason why a Joker has to exist. They're two people without superpowers, but their circumstances change things. Now ask yourself this: as much as I like Batman, why the hell does a multi-billionaire white man feel that he needs to dress up at night and go down on the street level to beat up criminals, when his resources on the outside could literally clean up the whole fucking city? Think about that shit. Now, his quote-unquote trauma is what has him doing this on a street level, because that's another way to keep young men passive. You're more concerned with how you could physically battle something than you could psychologically battle something, or you could battle things with your resources and change things. You'll be more concerned with being on a street level chasing punks and super villains, yeah, than actually affecting real change with your resources. That's one of the reasons why I identify more with villainy as an adult. But like I said, not villainy in the context where it is actually hurting people. I'm talking about the villainy in the concept